Have you ever stopped and really asked yourself a hard question? What happens to your money after you retire? Not just in the first few years, but in your 80s, your 90s, maybe even beyond that. Because retirement isn't just about stepping away from work. It's about making sure the life you've built, the routines you love, the freedom you've earned, the dignity you deserve, continues without financial stress quietly creeping in. And here's the truth most people don't like to think about. It's not running out of time that retirees fear most. It's running out of money before time runs out. So the real question becomes, how do you invest your nest egg in a way that actually lasts? The shift no one prepares you for. When you're working, investing feels optimistic. You're contributing regularly, markets go up and down, but time is on your side. You're building, accumulating, growing. But retirement flips that entire equation. Now, instead of adding to your portfolio, you're withdrawing from it. Instead of decades ahead, you may be looking at a 25, 30, even 40-year horizon that depends on what you've already saved. And suddenly, the margin for error shrinks. This is where so many people unknowingly make a critical mistake. They assume they can keep the same investment strategy they had before retirement. On paper, it sounds reasonable. In reality, it can quietly put everything at risk. The silent threat, sequence of returns risk. There's a concept in retirement planning that doesn't get nearly enough attention, yet it can make or break your financial future. It's called sequence of returns risk. And unlike market crashes or inflation, which are obvious and visible, this one is subtle, almost invisible, but incredibly powerful. Let me paint a picture. Imagine you retire with $1 million. You feel confident. You've done everything right. You decide to withdraw about $4,000 a month to support your lifestyle. Now, what if the market drops early in your retirement? Not years later, right at the beginning. Let's say your investments decline significantly in year one. At the same time, you're still withdrawing money to live. That combination, losses plus withdrawals, creates a kind of financial double impact. You're not just losing money from market performance, you're locking in those losses by pulling money out at the same time. And what makes this so dangerous is that your portfolio now has less capital left to recover when the market rebounds. Two retirees could have the exact same savings, withdraw the same amount, and earn the same average return over time. But the one who experiences losses early on could run out of money years sooner. That's the sequence risk. And here's the uncomfortable truth. You can't control the market. You can't control timing, but you can control how your money is structured. A smarter way to think about retirement investing. So instead of asking, what's the best investment? The better question is, how do I organize my money so that my lifestyle is protected no matter what the market does? This is where a thoughtful, structured approach comes in. One that separates your money based on when you'll need it, not just how it performs. And one of the most effective frameworks for doing this is something known as the bucket strategy. Now, there are many variations of this approach. Some are overly simplistic, others miss key risks. But when it's done right, when it's thoughtfully adapted to today's economic environment, it can create something incredibly powerful: peace of mind. The three-bucket strategy, a more human approach to investing. Instead of viewing your retirement savings as one giant pool of money, imagine dividing it into three distinct buckets. Each bucket has a purpose, each bucket has a timeline. And most importantly, each bucket is designed to support a different phase of your life. Let's walk through them. Bucket 1, stability and security, the first 5 years. The first bucket is your foundation. This is the money you'll rely on for your day-to-day living expenses in the early years of retirement, typically the first 5 years. And the goal here is simple: stability. Not growth, not risk, stability. This bucket is not about chasing returns. It's about ensuring that no matter what the market does, your income is secure. Think of it as your personal paycheck replacement. This is where you want assets that are designed to preserve your principal, things like high-yield savings accounts, short-term government securities, or other fixed-income tools that prioritize safety. What's interesting in today's environment is that these types of assets are actually paying meaningful yields again, something we haven't seen in years. So for the first time in a long time, you can earn a reasonable return without taking on significant risk. And that matters, because if the market drops tomorrow, this bucket ensures that your lifestyle doesn't. Bucket 2, balance and flexibility, years 5 to 15. The second bucket is where things become more nuanced. This is your bridge, the money you'll need in the middle years of retirement, roughly years 5 through 15. Here, the goal shifts slightly. You're still mindful of risk, but now you're also thinking about growth and income working together. This bucket often includes a thoughtful mix of investments, high-quality bonds, income-generating assets, and a measured exposure to equities. Why? Because this bucket plays a dual role. It not only supports your future withdrawals, but it also helps replenish your first bucket over time. So instead of constantly selling investments during market downturns, you allow income streams, like dividends and interest, to flow naturally and refill your short-term reserves. It creates a rhythm, a system. And that system reduces the pressure to make emotional decisions when markets become unpredictable. Bucket 3, growth and longevity, 15+ years. The third bucket is where you think long-term. This is money you won't need for at least 15 years, and because of that, it can be invested with a completely different mindset. This is your growth engine. Historically, long-term investments, especially in broad stock markets, have had time to recover from downturns and deliver meaningful returns. 15 years is not a random number. It represents a time horizon that has historically allowed investors to ride through even the most challenging market cycles. So in this bucket, you lean into growth-oriented assets, equities, real estate, and other long-term opportunities. Yes, there will be volatility. Yes, there will be moments of uncertainty, but that's the nature of long-term investing. And because this bucket is insulated from your immediate income needs, you can afford to stay patient. How the buckets work together. Here's where this strategy becomes more than just a concept. It becomes a system that actually supports your life. As you spend from your first bucket, it gradually decreases. But instead of panicking or selling stocks during a downturn, your second bucket steps in. Income generated from those investments begins to refill your short-term reserves. And over time, as your long-term investments grow, you can strategically rebalance, moving gains from your third bucket into your second, and from your second into your first. It's not reactive, it's intentional. And that intentional structure is what helps protect you from the emotional side of investing. Fear during downturns, overconfidence during booms, and the temptation to make decisions at the worst possible time. The emotional side of money. Because here's something we don't talk about enough. Retirement investing isn't just about math. It's about behavior. It's about how you feel when markets drop. It's about whether you can sleep at night knowing your income is secure. It's about confidence, not just in your numbers, but in your plan. And a well-structured strategy does something powerful. It replaces uncertainty with clarity. If there's one idea I want you to take away from all of this, it's this. Your investment strategy in retirement shouldn't look the same as it did while you were working, because your life has changed, your priorities have changed, and your money needs to adapt to that new reality. The goal is no longer just growth, it's sustainability, it's protection, it's freedom. And when your investments are aligned with those goals, something shifts. You stop worrying about the market every day. You stop questioning every headline. You start focusing on what retirement was meant to be, living. Because when you really think about it, retirement isn't a financial event. It's a deeply personal transition. It's the moment where your time becomes your own again, where mornings don't start with alarms and your decisions aren't dictated by deadlines or meetings, but by what truly matters to you. And yet, for so many people, that freedom is quietly overshadowed by a lingering question in the back of their mind. Will my money last? Why confidence matters more than returns. There's a tendency to focus heavily on returns when we talk about investing. What's the best performing fund? What stock is going to outperform next year? Where can I get the highest yield? But in retirement, the conversation shifts. Because at this stage, it's not just about how much your money can grow, it's about how reliably it can support your life. And that's where confidence becomes everything. Confidence that your income is secure. Confidence that a market downturn won't derail your plans. Confidence that you won't have to make difficult lifestyle cuts later in life. That kind of confidence doesn't come from chasing performance. It comes from structure. The discipline of rebalancing. Now let's talk about something that often gets overlooked, but plays a critical role in making this entire strategy work: rebalancing. Think of your 3 buckets as living, breathing parts of your financial life. They're not static. They evolve over time. Your first bucket will gradually be used for income. Your second bucket will generate cash flow and provide stability. Your third bucket will grow, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. But if left unattended, these buckets can drift away from their intended purpose. Maybe your growth bucket performs exceptionally well and suddenly it makes up a much larger portion of your portfolio than intended. Or maybe markets struggle and your safer assets begin to dominate. Either way, the balance shifts. And that's why periodic rebalancing is so important. Not constantly, not reactively, but intentionally. Every several years, often around a decade, you take a step back and evaluate. Has my growth bucket expanded beyond what I need? Should I trim some gains and reinforce my income buckets? Am I still aligned with the lifestyle I want to maintain? This process isn't about timing the market. It's about maintaining alignment between your investments and your life. The power of patience. There's something incredibly powerful about knowing that a portion of your money is designed not to be touched for 15 years or more. It creates space. Space to let compounding do its work. Space to ride out volatility without fear. Space to think long-term in a world that constantly pushes short-term thinking. Because one of the biggest mistakes investors make, especially in retirement, is reacting too quickly, selling when markets fall, holding back when opportunities arise, letting emotions drive decisions instead of strategy. But when your money is structured into buckets with clear purposes, something shifts. You don't feel the same urgency to react. You understand that a downturn in your long-term bucket doesn't impact your immediate lifestyle. And that understanding can be the difference between staying the course and making a costly mistake. What about inflation and unexpected costs? Let's address 2 of the biggest concerns retirees face: inflation and the unexpected. Inflation quietly erodes purchasing power over time. What costs $1 today may cost significantly more 10 or 20 years from now. And then there are the things we can't predict: healthcare needs, family support, emergencies. This is where the balance between your buckets becomes even more important. Your first bucket provides immediate stability. Your second bucket offers income and moderate growth. Your third bucket serves as your hedge against inflation, because over long periods, growth assets have historically outpaced rising costs. Together, they create a system that's not just reactive, but resilient. The mistake of playing it too safe. Here's something that might surprise you. One of the biggest risks in retirement isn't taking too much risk. It's taking too little. It's understandable. After decades of working and saving, the instinct is to protect what you've built, to avoid losses, to stay conservative, to move everything into safe assets. But here's the problem. If your entire portfolio is focused only on preservation, it may not grow enough to keep up with inflation or sustain a long retirement. And ironically, that can increase your risk of running out of money. This is why maintaining some exposure to growth, often 30 to 40% or more, is so important. Not for excitement, not for speculation, but for sustainability. A more personal perspective. Let me take a step back for a moment, because behind all of these strategies, percentages, and allocations, there's something much more human. Every dollar in your retirement portfolio represents time. Time you spent working, time you spent sacrificing, time you spent building a future you couldn't yet see. And now that future is here. So the goal isn't just to make your money last. It's to make your life feel secure, flexible, and fulfilling. It's to give you the confidence to travel if you want to support your family if needed, to enjoy your days without constantly checking the market. And that's what a thoughtful investment strategy is really about. Not complexity, clarity. Bringing it all together. Let's simplify everything we've talked about. Bucket 1 protects your lifestyle today. Bucket 2 supports your lifestyle tomorrow. Bucket 3 secures your lifestyle for the future. Each one plays a role. Each one has a purpose. And together they create a system that allows you to navigate retirement with confidence, regardless of what the market does next. If you're approaching retirement or already there, this is your moment to pause and reassess. Not out of fear, but out of intention. Ask yourself, is my current strategy built for withdrawal, not just accumulation? Do I have a plan that protects my income in the short term? Am I giving my long-term investments enough time to grow? Because the difference between a stressful retirement and a secure one often comes down to how your money is structured, not just how much you have. And if this conversation has helped you see your financial future a little more clearly, then take a moment to engage with it. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Share it with someone who might need to hear this. Because the more people who understand how to approach retirement thoughtfully, the more people can actually enjoy it the way it was meant to be. And that ultimately is what this is all about. We'll see you in the next one.